Okay. Hi, everybody. It's really kind of comical how many times have tried to do this video today. I'm going to try to do a video and walk you through the slideshow. I've tried to do it multiple times and I keep getting guest cameos from my children or yelling in the background or dogs barking or life happening all around me. You know how it is. So I wanted to say hello because students in a class that I taught last semester said, I really wish I got to see you and know who you are. So I wanted to say hello. I am going to stop the video for most of the slideshows because I find the little picture in picture kind of gets in the way of some of the slides. Um, but I'm going to walk you through this slideshow in video format, and I would love for you to offer me some feedback on whether you like this form of delivery for a slideshow or whether you prefer to just have a slideshow, shared a link to a slideshow and you have to play the audio where it needs to be played and those kind of things. So let me know your thoughts because I'm playing with different types of formats. I feel like it's important that we think about these things uh, while we're in this virtual world. So now maybe our online classes will be better even after everything goes back to normal, if that ever happens. So, hello and welcome to week 3. I'm going to walk you through the slideshow. Okay, so this week we are talking about culturally responsive teaching, and I'm having you read an article called The Heuristic for Thinking About Culturally Responsive Teaching, which is, for short, we say the HiTCRiT. And that's a publication that was the brainchild of my mentor at U of L and a couple of my colleagues and myself. We all worked on this together, and it's just recently been published. And the heuristic is just a way for us to try to think about culturally responsive teaching in a way that made it easier to understand, easier to grasp, and talk about and think about sort of holistically by breaking it down and looking at its parts and then looking at how they work together. So that was the hope and the goal of the HiTCRiT. And I think it's important to talk about in this course, one, because I think culturally responsive teaching is something we should talk about in every education course because it's something we do and not something we add or something we, you know, integrate. It's just sort of how we do what we do. And I think that's very similar to how I look at disciplinary literacies. So I found that my work in these disciplinary literacies classes, I teach it at here at KSU, but I also teach it at U of L occasionally. Um, and I have found that the work that I did with those classes really informed the research and the thinking and the writing that I did on the HiTCRiT project. So I feel like they're really complementary topics and that they really feed into one another and kind of help me understand each one and kind of helps me understand the other a little bit better. So I hope you'll find the same. So culturally responsive teaching has been called many things, and it is not at all a new concept. And each person who sort of reconceptualizes or rethinks it makes their own tweaks and changes and notices different things, has different insights. And so I'm not saying that this is the only definition or even necessarily the greatest be all end all definition, but Geneva Gay is a really great thinker, a really powerful scholar, and she defines culturally responsive teaching as using the cultural knowledge, prior experiences, frames of reference, and performance styles of ethnically diverse students to make learning encounters more relevant and effective, more relevant to and effective for them. And so that idea of effectiveness for the students and having them bring not only their cultural knowledge, their prior experiences, but also their frames of reference and their performance styles. These are the things that I think make this definition really powerful and really relevant to what we were trying to do with the HiTCRiT. So that's what Geneva Gay thinks when she thinks of culturally responsive teaching, and I'm interested to know what do you think when you think of culturally responsive teaching. So I'm going to ask that you do a free write. This is to get your thoughts flowing before we dive in, not only to the rest of this presentation, but to the reading on the HiTCRiT, because I think it's really important you come into that reading with a notion of what it is you think so that you're able to push back, you're able to converse with the text as you read it. Remember, I told you always give your students a before, during, and after activity when you give them a text. So I think that's true of what we need to do for ourselves as scholars, as pre-service teachers as well. we need to go in there and think about what we already know and what we already think and what we believe before we read something so that we're having a really engaged conversation with the text as we read. So if you've ever done a free write, then you'll know. But if not, a free write is when you put your pen to paper and you don't stop writing for the entire time that um, that you've set for yourself. This is a 2-minute free write, which is rather short for a free write, but you'll find that actually keeping your hand moving that entire time is not as easy as it sounds. Okay, so if you're typing, make sure that you're a strong enough typist that it doesn't really influence the way that you think, that you're allowed to turn off your inner editor and just let your ideas flow. If you can't type that fast, or that sort of if it doesn't interfere with your thinking, then go ahead and use your pen and paper or your pencil and paper. Now you are going to share this free write in the blog, the reflection, the teamwork. I'm not exactly sure what the assignment is this week, but whatever it is, you are going to share this free write with us. So make sure that you take time to do it now. If you don't have something to write on, sort of pause this video and go grab something. And if you're going to type instead of writing, that's fine, but please go ahead and open up your Word document or your Google Doc, wherever you're going to type it, and pause if you need to. And here we go. On your marks, get set, free write. All right, congratulations there, writers. You made it through. I don't know. This could be your fifth free write. This could be your first. Anyway, you made it through another free write. And that's not always an easy thing to do. But I think it's really important that we get our ideas flowing, because what we found when we started doing our research for the HiTCRiT, and frankly, in all the time that I've worked with teachers and pre-service teachers, that is that everyone understands that culturally responsive teaching is very important for students. That it's a great goal. That it's something teachers need to do. We need to be really culturally responsive, and a lot of teachers think they're doing it. A lot of teachers will say, "Oh yes, my lessons are very culturally responsive," and so, but when you ask how, what does it look like? What is it about that lesson that was culturally responsive? Not everyone can articulate how or why they think it was culturally responsive, or even to whom it was culturally responsive, right? Because our students come to us with from different cultures and from different realities, and so thinking about responsivity and how do we address differences in our class, differentiated culturally responsive teaching. These are things that we need to always be thinking about and always trying to improve and to evaluate in ourselves. So it's important not only to think about what culturally responsive teaching is, but what does it look like in the classroom? And that's where we think the HiTCRiT sort of contributes. So I'm going to pause this video or stop this video because I don't want them to get too long to upload to YouTube. And we will continue with part 2 in a second video.